Now for the special guest of the evening. This young man has a mixtape out called
Brutal.
He has been a viral video celebrity before.
Baby Got Book.
Yes, with Baby Got Book. He is an Ohio Hip Hop Award winner and a 2-time Ohio Hip Hop Award nominee. Woo. Mr. Dan Smith. What's going on, sir?
Yes, worst rapper name ever. Represent.
So first, let's kick this off. Let's talk a little bit about your project first. So the project's called Brutal. Take us through it. What you got?
Yeah, it's called Brutal. It's a mixtape that really it's about brutal honesty, just telling my story. I've told my story kind of metaphorically in some ways, especially like my spiritual story. So it's been buried in metaphor, and I just was like, man, I just need to put out my story in a brutally honest way. Like, even might need to rate it PG-12 a little bit for, little kids that might hear it, because most of the stuff I do is really positive, spiritually focused, and I thought this one might need, I don't know, maybe a little filter for some kids. And but yeah, it's brutal mixtape, and it's got a song in there called My Batman Verse is Superman. And release that with kind of the movie coming out, and that's really kind of that struggle between being a superhero that doesn't have powers and trying to be a hero like that, like Batman, versus people who think they're Superman. And I think the world needs one of those and not the other. And so it's kind of a little bit about that. And then I got a song in there called Dog Pound, which is kind of a Northeast Ohio attitude song. And,
right.
That was basically birthed out of all those conversations where people are like, oh yeah, I've been to Cleveland. And I'm like, what's that mean? Right. and basically what it means is they saw Cleveland from the airport during a layover, And I'm like, wait, you don't know, shut up. You don't know Cleveland, And so it's, being like a defender. Yes, it is definitely. And it's a defense of the city in some ways, It's like this community, this dog pound that's bigger than just a section in a stadium,
right.
is these people who are they're just bonded together. They're rowdy, they're fun, they're loyal, they're faithful, that kind of thing. And so that's I love that song just because of the theme, and it's rock based. It's got my wife actually singing the hook, and so I love that one.
So you had mentioned earlier that it was that Brutal is more of talking about your personal story and things like that. You don't often hear spiritual or spiritually conscious rappers that really dig into their stories. They really kind of stick to general themes. So talk about why it was important to you for you to really show off that personal side of you on this project.
Yeah, for me, it's, I don't know that anybody cares what I have to say necessarily until they hear my story, of like, okay, most people write you off as soon as they find out you speak in spiritual themes. For me, being someone who's a pastor or a rapper who talks about spiritual stuff. So I'm like, no, I want people to hear my story. So they're like, okay, you didn't grow up going to church. This is like a twist in the plot for you, actually.
Right.
The kids you grew up with are shocked to find out you are a pastor, that kind of stuff. So I just really wanted to make it clear, like, man, here's what I came from. Here's this history I have in my family. I was a porn addict by the time I was in middle school. We never went to church. Just all this, crazy stuff in my life, and then how my story intersected with the story of Jesus. And I was like, man, I want people to know, that story and how that came about. And so it's, it's real, it's raw, it's just the truth about who I was and then who I became. So.
I've actually taken the time. I have listened to the whole mixtape. One of the songs I really like is "Walk On By."
Oh yeah.
What was the inspiration for you? And there's another Christian rapper from the Cleveland area, Big Cleve. Shout out to the big homie, Revolution 216.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for you guys on that song?
Yeah, he actually asked me. This is kind of funny because he asked me about this song. The song was his idea a few years back. And then I wrote my verse, and he was lazy, and he never wrote his verse. And so I remember I spoke at a men's retreat that I was on out of the state, and that night I got done sooner than I thought I would. I wasn't as long-winded as I thought I would be, and ended up writing this verse back in my room. And I got done, and I just kept poking him like, hey, when are you going to write your verse? When are you going to write your verse? Oh, yeah, I'll get on that. So finally, I was going to do this mixtape, and I was like, dude, you've still not written your verse. And so I actually twisted it and like, okay, I'm putting this on my mixtape, and I'm asking you to feature it. And so, so yeah, it was really just the idea of really just like there's a lot of times we can miss people in general, whether it's something as simple as seeing someone who's going through something and it's obvious they're going through something and passing them by. It could be a homeless person. It could be, all kinds. It could be someone that looks different than me, looks dirty, looks whatever, and just passing them by. And for me, the motivation was almost another superhero one was I talk about listening to God's spirit inside you like the spidey sense. And so for me, the motivation was I got to listen to the spidey sense, which in Bible terms, Galatians 5 means I got to follow the Spirit where He leads me and get off my agenda and get on God's agenda sometimes. So, yeah.
More with Dan Smith here on The Outlaws. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tiptoe when you talk trash about my city, I'm a pit bull. Quit trying to give a full-blown report, man, when you've only read the flipping cliff notes. Get animated like flip notes when I spit flows at your lymph nodes. And I butt heads with butt heads over what's said about my zip code.
The Outlaws Radio Show on the FCB Radio Network.
I have to break my thigh bone. Tanya Harding, I'm not a good Samaritan. Hey Nancy, what's it gonna take for me to start to care again?
Welcome back to the Outlaws. This is the Kingpin alongside E. Will and sitting in for Jessica Lavish, Christy Maggard. Don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Outlaws Radio and follow us on Twitter at Outlaws Radio. And we are still here with two-time Ohio Hip Hop Award nominee and Ohio Hip Hop Award winner Dan Smith, who has a new mixtape out now called Brutal.
Dan. So, my man, you know that one of my favorite songs on here, well, they're all my favorites, but my favorite is Never Without a Parable. So, tell me a little bit of background. What inspired you to come up with the words in that song? 'Cause, I mean, it's like speaking the Bible, but in a way that most people have never heard before.
Yeah, like one of the things that's always inspired me as an artist, but also as a speaker, is just that there's this verse in Matthew 13 in the Bible that says when Jesus talked to the crowd that he never was without a parable. Like he always told a story. He was a storyteller. And it's funny because now people think sometimes, like if you're a speaker or a preacher, that storytelling is kind of the fluff, get their attention back. And really for Jesus, that was often the heart of what he did. So I wanted to tell some modern day versions of Jesus's parables, and a parable is really just a story with a spiritual point to it. Mm-hmm. And so I just started putting the pen to paper on that, and I really enjoyed writing that. And then we mashed it up on this mixtape with that Skylar Gray hook, Coming Home. And so I just love the marriage. Andre Frazier sings on that.
Oh,
my dog,
he killed it.
Yeah, he's
he
got a great voice.
His voice is a great voice.
Yeah, so yeah, that was kind of the motivation behind that. It was just modern day version of, okay, who would the Good Samaritan be today? Like back then, the Jewish audience of Jesus hated the Samaritans. So who would the Good Samaritan be today? And so kind of putting a twist on that to see, and I'll let you listen to it to find out who it is. But yeah, so, that was kind of stuff that I was interested in bringing to the 21st century.
So, since I know you personally, I know that you don't just listen to Christian music, but a lot of people may not know that. What have been your influences, your rap influences? Who have you listened to? Who do you listen to now? Who do you like? Stuff like that.
Yeah, man, I was listening to hip hop back when it was first being recorded, or very soon after. Like, I think the first song that hooked me in hip hop was Nucleus, Jam on It. Way back in the day. I mean, the Fat Boys. I love the Fat Boys and Run DMC, Houdini. I was listening to all that stuff. LL Cool J and the Beastie Boys were two that really got me excited about rap. And yeah, it was people like that really made me just fall in love with hip hop. And then nowadays, man, people that I like or respect what they do or how they do it. Eminem, I think his skills are just incredible. But I don't think he has a lot to say sometimes, but he's funny, and he's an incredible lyricist. I think since he's come back from his addiction, it's just another level. And then Kendrick Lamar, I really appreciate some of the stuff he's saying. I think that a lot of hip hop is the same 4 or 5 topics over and over and over, and so I appreciate whenever someone says something conscious. I appreciate it that they're actually trying to say something to make a difference or do something or raise awareness. And that's what hip-hop, it started out so political, and here's something that needs to be said, and I've got a microphone, so I'm going to say it. And it feels like it's disappeared so much for years, and so I'm glad to see some of that back.
Well, it's funny because I saw an old interview from like 2003 or something like that with Chuck D, who was mentioning some of the same thing. He said, the escapism rap, it has a place. It's fine with that. There's always been that element in rap, but you have to balance it out with more of the conscious stuff, more of the spirit. You have to have both. Yeah. Because if you don't, it doesn't give a full picture of what hip hop is.
Yeah.
Well, I've maintained for a while now that real hip hop is on life support. Like you mentioned that Eminem is a lyricist. We don't see or hear many lyricists anymore these days.
No, we don't.
It's a lot of the stuff that we don't want to hear, we're not going to say on air, but...
Well, there's a lot of just blind followers that don't really know what true hip-hop is anymore, and people are just trying to get top 40 chart toppers, just, quick, easy beats that people can remember, and there's no, like Dan said, no meaning behind the words. I think we're kind of missing what true artistry in music is anymore. Just trying to get that hit.
Well, I'm glad you actually mentioned that, because anymore nowadays, the younger generation, they care more about the beats than the lyrics themselves.
Right.
I constantly had a conversation with this kid that I used to work with, and he's like, man, it's the beat, it's what makes you feel good. It's not necessarily about the words. And I'm like, so you mean you to tell me you could have a really good beat and you don't care what they're saying if it's like something crazy?
Stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that, Dan? How do you deal with trying to bring music to an audience that has an appetite that is completely different from what you or even I grew up with?
Yeah. Some is like the funny thing about spiritual hip hop is sometimes you have something to say that people don't like to hear because they just want to party or dance
in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so there's a real balance there. Like I think there's a place for a little bit of bravado. That's hip hop. There's a little bit of that for sure. And but on the other hand, I have some young dudes that I'll try to mentor, even just through social media, that want to rap. And they'll send me a verse, and one of the things I'll often say to them is, I think you need to figure out what your message is, because most people that are writing hip-hop trying to start out, they have a fake opponent. Like, there's someone in their head that is just, everybody hates them. It's all these opponents. Everybody's against them. Like, okay, first off, shut up, man. Nobody even knows you rap, okay? And so get this fake opponent out of your head and try to actually think, what do you have to offer the world? What do you have to say? And then, sure, make some bangers. Just make some fun songs that are about something fun and that people can bob their head to. But I think you also have to figure out what unique do you have to offer the world, and so.
Right. I need to know where you were like 8 years ago. I needed that advice back then when I was rapping. Maybe I'd still be rapping today.
Well, that was kind of how I learned the game too. It was like, working on a project, and you may have 5 songs, and it's like brag, deep.
Yeah.
Like you have to have at least
one deep song
on your project that shows a little bit more of your versatility.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I've mentioned that to a couple people, and then they've been like, oh, well, that changes everything. I don't know what to say now. And I'm like, exactly. And that's how you're going to grow, is you got to figure out what to say. And that's a big step. Like, I actually have to not just regurgitate everything that I hear and just do the same thing. I got to do something different.
Now, when we come back, I have a question kind of on that note about how when people hear that you do spiritual rap, even before they listen to the music, what is the reaction? Are people willing to listen to your music, or do they kind of judge it off rip like, oh, well, I'm probably not going to like this? But we'll talk about that more when we come back from the break. You are listening to The Outlaws. Stay tuned.
The Outlaws Radio Show on the FCB Radio Network.
Straight up psychos, call us Michael. Take a Bible, don't break the cycle. Little by little, yes, it'll impact the city. We call it the ripple effect. Goes on and simple in fact. To see how these stories will interconnect. No superpowers to pass on.
Welcome back to the Outlaws. This is the Kingpin alongside E. Will and Christy Maggard. Jessica Lavish is off today. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Outlaws Radio and follow us on the Twitters at Outlaws Radio. And we're still here with two-time Ohio Hip Hop Award nominee and Ohio Hip Hop Award winner Dan Smith, whose mixtape Brutal is out now. Where can they get it?
WhiteBoyDJ.com. Yeah, you can get it for free, or you can listen on YouTube. And my channel is WhiteBoyDJ5.
All right. So before the break, we were kind of talking about the style of music that you do, and I'm curious to know, are people receptive when they know that it's spiritual rap, conscious rap? Like, are they receptive to that, or are they kind of put off by the idea before even hearing it?
Yeah, I think most people, it seems like it's a really positive thing, because a lot of people have in their minds, like we've been talking about, here are all the flaws in hip hop. And so that, they're putting together, like, one, I think they're curious because they want to go online and listen. Like, I'll go to YouTube and see how lame this is, which I love. I mean, it always starts, if it starts with that, it's fine by me, because I'd love to sneak up on somebody and be like, whoa, dude can actually rap.
Yeah, right, you prove them wrong.
But
Yeah. So, I mean, I like that. But I think, a lot of times people are like, well, if it's spiritual, then I guess he has to say something. I've always said, I think some of my biggest fan base has been the famous quote, "I don't like hip hop, but I like you."
Yeah.
And so that's been good. But yeah, I think people are usually pretty curious. The thing I try to differentiate is, okay, I've got comedy songs, and then there's real hip hop songs.
Right.
Like my viral video. I always try to, if somebody's actually a hip hop fan, like, okay, I want you to understand, this is a comedy song. This is not me trying, okay? Because otherwise that could be embarrassing.
I actually mentioned that song at work last night.
Oh yeah,
and got a couple laughs. Somehow the whole "Baby Got Back" reference came up, and then I was like, hey, my pastor actually did a remix to that song. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it's called "Baby Got Book," and they're like, wait, what?
It's funny, like, before, because I go to his church as well. Before I knew him, I knew about that song.
So did I. In college, somebody walked into my room, you gotta see this video. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a go. And it was hilarious. And what snagged my attention was you're wearing a Mud Hens jersey in that video. And I was like, somebody else knows about the Mud Hens. Yes. And he made a video and people are watching it.
Real quick, tell everybody who's listening to iHeartRadio what the Mud Hens are.
Oh, Toledo Mud Hens. They're the Toledo's minor league baseball team. Yeah. So affiliated with the Detroit Tigers. So
that would be a very small reference.
Nobody knows. Yeah. Nobody knows.
But then again, everybody knows how bad Detroit's had it lately.
Yeah.
So, and that brings up another good point. How do people in the hip hop community embrace your music and your message and stuff like that?
Yeah, typically pretty well. I mean, I think most of my fan base honestly has been people who are from the outside of the hip hop community looking in. Like, I didn't know I could like hip hop, and so that's probably, as an artist, where I need to make more inroads, is into actual hip hop community, is to say, yeah, this is something that's this is something that's positive, this is something that's spiritual, and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, most of it has been people from the outside looking in, and or from the Christian circles, rapping at conventions, rapping at retreats, rapping in churches,
right?
Which is, of course, the unconventional way to go about hip hop.
Right.
Not necessarily always the best way,
but in certain circles.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's I remember when you won the Ohio Hip Hop Award. That was kind of a cool moment, because it was like, that was here in Ohio. That was like the quintessential hip hop industry.
Yeah.
And you were able to come in and win that award. Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, that was pretty smooth, and Darvio knows he gets some major props, because he was the one that even suggested I stick my neck out there for that. And but yeah, that was pretty sweet. It was exciting to see people get behind that, and to to get the award. And then when I got the award, I came home and had all my kids pose with it. And I put that up on Facebook. It's like, here, you guys hold this. I want a picture of you guys holding this thing. And so I got a cool kind of snapshot in history of my kids at a younger age than they are right now, just a few years ago, holding that hip hop award. And so that's been really cool.
That is my godson back there in the background, making all kinds of noise.
Our little guest that we usually have.
Right.
Never know, just might be pooping.
Well,
when we come back, we are going to do something that we normally do. We usually talk about hot topics and news of the day. And so we're going to talk about a couple of things and get Dan's opinion on stuff. When we come back, you're listening to The Outlaws.
The Outlaws Radio Show on the FCB Radio Network.
And we are here with Dan Smith, two-time Ohio Hip Hop Award nominee and Ohio Hip Hop Award winner. His mixtape Brutal is out, and once again, tell them where they can get it at.
Yeah, you can get the Brutal mixtape at whiteboydj.com. You can hear pieces of it on Instagram or at whiteboydj, and you can listen to it on YouTube too. My channel is whiteboydj5.
What, my godson got something to say?
He's just being very talkative today.
All right, what's up? He's like his daddy.
You be nice.
Okay, let's get into some hot topics with Dan real quick. First, it's been in the news this week, the comments made by Charles Barkley. The Cleveland Cavaliers blew out the Atlanta Hawks.
that's an understatement.
Yeah.
Wrecked them, darn near killed them.
With a record-setting 25 three-pointers.
Right. And Chuck said that he believed that he was mad at the Hawks. He wasn't really dissing Cleveland. He was dissing Atlanta. He said that they should have showed some heart. They should have, quote, taken someone out. He really meant hard foul somebody. But he was saying that they should do something and not just get embarrassed because the Cavs were being disrespectful. Do you think that the Cavs were being disrespectful?
Oh gosh, no. It's Atlanta's job to stop the Cavaliers. Like that's their job is to play defense. Like that's ridiculous. I think that Barkley, he often he's entertaining. That's why he's on there. He's entertaining.
Right.
But he often finds ways to take little shots at the city of Cleveland. I'm like, all right, now I'm not entertained by you. And then I play my song Dog Pound.
Christy, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I agree. I mean, it's a professional sports team. It's not Little League. It's not, they're doing their job. I mean, that's what basketball is. It's high scoring, and that's why people are big fans of it, because you score a lot of points. It's a lot of action. That's what you're just doing your job. I don't think that's disrespectful. I think that's playing the game, and I think that's part of the game. I mean, if you want to be a crybaby, go do something else. You can't, you can't sit back and complain that one team beat another team. That's
now I agree, and I'm going to agree from a different angle. I say, yes, it was disrespectful, but it doesn't matter. If you want to do something about it, stop them from shooting.
Yeah.
Right.
Stop
defense.
Stop the guy that we signed in mid-April from shooting a three. I mean, do something. D up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, they weren't playing the game anymore. They were going for the three. Like, they had Mozgov, who's the center here, wide open down the lane, but they were just going for the three. That is disrespectful. But if you want to stop them, do something about it.
But you got to understand. You got to understand, though. It's also a show of dominance. Like
Exactly.
it's some psychological there. I mean, the Cavs are here. We're here to play, and we're here to win.
Exactly.
And so and they want to show not only Atlanta that, they want to show all teams that we're not just going to sit idly by and just like, okay, well, we'll give up. We'll stop playing now because we got a little lead. I mean, no, we're here. We're going to play. We're going to play hard. And we're going to finish the game, and that's what I have respect for. So
now, last topic here, because we're running short of time here. Your favorite family. Go ahead.
Well, hold on. I didn't even get to talk about the Cavs here.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Like,
doesn't matter.
You skipped over me.
Doesn't
on that
matter.
one.
All right,
Doesn't matter.
Well, make it quick because we're running short on time here.
Never mind. You already skipped over me. Forget
All of that.
You wore your Cavs jersey. It's good enough. You're good.
it. Yeah.
You have anything to add real quick?
No, it's all
we're
right.
moving on.
I'll hold it for another time.
Okay. All right. Now, your favorite family, the Kardashians.
Oh, my goodness. TMZ reported today that Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna are pregnant.
Okay. Now, here's my question for Dan. Dan, do you even know who Black China is?
I do.
I barely do.
I know. It's a barely, but I do know.
I'll put myself out there. I don't know who she is. I've seen a picture of her, but I don't know who she is.
Yeah, I don't know who she is either.
Like, she makes music, right? She's a rapper, isn't she?
Oh, yeah, I couldn't even get that deep with you. I actually was going to say I thought she was maybe in WWE.
You're thinking of the other China.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I guess she's a rapper, but I have no idea what song she made. But
yeah, I did not know that. As soon as I hear the name Kardashian, my brain goes to sleep.
Yeah, Mom always said if you don't
I think I'm going to have to use that one.
Nice to say.
It's brain Novocaine.
Turn the channel.
Christy, what was that point you just made?
I just said, Mom always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't talk about the Kardashians.
Well, here,
that was the same.
I think here on the Outlaws, we don't abide by Mama's rules.
We usually don't. But yeah, so we had to bring the mild version of the Hot Topics because this is our pastor. It would have been a different situation if he had been on the show last week where we introduced the segment of reading reviews of sex toys. That was...
And you see how he just noticeably got very awkward. Made him squirm in his chair a little bit.
Just to explain ourselves real quick, because we want to make sure we still have our cool points to get into heaven.
You just made our pastor very, very nervous.
No,
Real quick,
not at all.
just to explain ourselves, it was a joke. We were just like, hey, you know what? I bet the review, because they have reviews just like you buy something on Amazon.
Yeah.
And we were like, hey, this is probably entertaining.
And actually, ironically, our church is located in Garfield Heights, Ohio. And last week we found a review from Garfield Heights, Ohio.
Dang it, I tried to disguise my name on that. Dang it.
Last words, he will.
As usual, peace, love, and chicken grease.
Dan, let everybody know where they can get the mixtape again and how they can get in contact with you on social media.
Yeah, Brutal Mixtape, whiteboydj.com. You can download it for free. All my social media is whiteboydj, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and on YouTube, whiteboydj5 is my channel.
Last words, Christy Bagger.
Oh, it's been fun. It's been real. Love you all.
All right, we out of here. We'll see you next week. Yeah. Peace.